From the whispered mesas where ASMR grows, Rustin Cohle is back now. Where did his muscles go?
Well, it's a bit of a surprise. Being called back in here. Same room, same detectives. What do you got? You got some kind of Dracy sitting on you? You guys haven't been promoted yet? I could have a word. They listen to me, obviously. But if I were you, I'd be wondering what I'm doing. Still stuck. Same place I was 4 years ago. Did you do this for me? It's awfully nice. I'm going to assume that means it was okay. I realize the world has moved on. Sometimes the world can move on while a man stays right where he is. It's a gift from Marty. I don't know if you can see that close, but it's a couple of wolves. The irony be there being, of course, you know, wolves can travel in packs, but you know, I always tended to enjoy working on my own. Got more done that way. Not that I think I'm better than everybody. It just seemed like I work with people and I bring them down, or you know, maybe they bring me down. Maybe it's just the fact that there's a freedom in working on your own that you don't get when you got a partner, even somebody as close as Marty and I were, you know, at our peak and afterwards. You never could let go. That whole Maggie thing, though. Even after all, what you get? You got the mug and you got me an ashtray. That's, you know, your audience. I guess that's Detective 101 right there. But I'll tell you what, you know, honestly, you got me back in here again. That means you did something wrong, because I know I didn't do anything wrong, so somebody messed up, and somebody's sitting on the other side of the table. So, what do y'all want from me? Saying information, that's pretty broad. I gotta tell you, that didn't work out so well for me last time. You were pretty reluctant to show me my file last time I was in here. Pretty suspicious, pretty dubious of everything I had to say. You thought I was crazy. You thought I was a murderer. I don't know why I should help you now. I'm getting so close to death now. I'm not a whole lot that scares me, so certainly any threats you can make, I'm not really gonna shake my will. Well, I mean, I would say it would be one gesture of goodwill on y'all's behalf would be to show me my file. You show me my file, I get the feeling that y'all are being shooting straight with me, and I saw you. Up there at the Children's Farm. You're a straight shooter. Credit where it's due, you know. So what do you say? Would you show me my file? Maybe we can talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. Y'all got some kind of book problem in here. Y'all take care of that. Look. Thank you. Pretty short. Expunged, eh? Redacted. Story of my life. Well, I'd say that's a good first step. But I think there's also a second step that needs to be addressed before I'm gonna talk to y'all. And guess what that might be? Yeah, if you got a Lone Star, that'd be great. I don't care nothing snooty. Give a little hustle up on that. Appreciate it. So that's pretty interesting. It's not what I expected, certainly. There's more wrong in here than there's right. Look. I do still work in the bar, but, you know, and I do still drink, but it's something I try to keep under control. It's not easy. What is easy is sort of preaching sobriety and clean living from a mountaintop. It's not so easy when you're in the devil's den every day. You know, clocking in a back alley in Amsterdam. I'm being asked to not to touch the merchandise, you know. So, I did what I've always done, regardless of whether or not y'all thought I was ever out of control or not. I made rules for myself, and I abided by those rules. You set limits. You develop your own code, and you adhere to that code. Sorry, I'm drifting a little bit. It comes down to internal fortitude, really. One in Nietzsche who said that he often laughed at those who consider themselves good men merely because they had no claws. And that's a truth. That is God's honest truth. If I believed in God, I would consider that a God's honest truth. I can't imagine the number of people that I've seen who fancy themselves saints. But really, they just sort of lack the means or the temperament to seize power. If they got that courage, they got that change to their temperament, they'd be very, very dangerous people indeed. Not me, boy. Not me. Power is not something that I want. I've never gravitated towards it. In fact, the idea of power makes me nervous. Not much has changed in this room since I was here last time. You know, update your filing system, anything like that? I experienced some monumental, what some would say would be kind of life-changing events. But I can't say that they really steered me much differently. I mean, I've definitely put some miles on the road that I'm traveling, but the direction that road was traveling was determined long ago. Can't say that it's changed much. Hey, you know, rubber on wheels beats rubber on heels anytime, all right? Where's your friend? So, if you brought me in here looking for a changed man, you ought to be disappointed. I mean, I'm not saying that I haven't changed. I've definitely changed. I've become more of what I was. Time has distilled me down to the essence of my nature. And depending on your point of view, that may or may not be a good thing. I think, you know, if you ask Marty, it's a bad thing. I think if I asked you, you might go either way. I think your partner would think it was a bad thing. I was thinking when I was parking my truck outside the station? I was thinking this is where it starts. Here, in this police station, in the courthouse next door. This is where it starts. We think because for so long we've been using the idea of justice and a justice system as a solution to the problem of criminality that we've stopped considering anything prior to a certain point. You know, we look at how we can reform existing architecture. You know, when it comes to the foundation, we don't even question it. We leave that alone. And all this is in spite of decades of evidence that, in my opinion, and I think my opinion matters because I've lived it, begs us, behooves us, becomes our duty to re-examine the foundation that your jobs are built on. Is the cure worse than the disease? I don't know. But we're not even asking that question, right? We stop before we get there. You know, we're like big pharma, you know. Logic dictates that the crime came first. You know, this ain't your classic chicken and egg scenario. You know? The crime came before the punishment, right? I mean, that is sort of it seems like basic logic. It seems like a basic assumption that if you didn't think that, you know, maybe people might think you're a little bit crazy. I guess I'm just saying, you know, what if the problems that our institutions were established to address disappeared? What would the reaction of those institutions be if cancer were cured tomorrow? You know, what do you think would happen? What would happen with that information, you know? It's easy to say. Everybody wants cancer to be cured. It's crazy. What are you talking about, Russ? But really, the only people who want cancer to be cured are those who don't have any part of their fortunes tied up in the institutions that were created to treat cancer. Well, your partner's taking a while. Check up on him. Really? This is the best you could do for him? I mean, I'm not gonna, you know, beggars can't be choosers. We can certainly be complainers. Thanks anyways, boys. We just about had a moment there. Horse piss. So, yeah, we talked about you a little bit while you were gone. Look, I'm not a cop anymore, you know? I believe I have a more objective view on the institutions of criminal justice than someone deep within the gears of that machinery themselves. But I could be wrong, you know? But I want you to consider this. Imagine a society that subjects people to conditions that make them terribly unhappy, then gives them drugs to take away their unhappiness instead of addressing the underlying condition. Those drugs are a way of making it so a sane person can withstand insane conditions, make them tolerable. Now, y'all know who said that? The Unabomber. Yeah, it's part of his manifesto. This is 100% wrong. Look, I'm not a fan of the Unabomber. I don't think what he did was right. I just think that some of the frustrations that led to his ideas were born out of a sick society. And that sick society was then filtered through a sick mind. But, you know, we put hard stops. We say the mind was sick, and that's where we draw the line. That's our hard stop. We don't bother to look at the other sicknesses. Is that cynical? How cynical is that? I think it's just about the right amount of cynical. There's nothing, all that stuff about me, about the HIDTA, that's not in here at all. I still don't know why I'm here. Not sure I want to know. You know, last time didn't work out so well for me. A lot of things were easy for me then. Not so easy for me anymore. I do have a lot of free time on my hands. That's for somebody like me, it's not a good thing. I've developed different and new coping mechanisms. They work for me. Hope y'all don't mind if I get comfortable here. I'm just having a devil of a time reading about how y'all interpret what I've been doing. So yeah, I got a brand new set of coping mechanisms. More effective even than drinking. In fact, that's probably what's saving me from drinking too much. I still get hallucinations. I get them. You know, I said I didn't. Said they stopped. They never stopped. I couldn't have a reliable relationship with a partner if they thought I was crazy or imagining things. I didn't want people second guessing. I could always tell what was a hallucination and what was real. But maybe, you know, somebody I'm working with, they don't know that. You know, I say I see something, they write it off as a hallucination. I couldn't have that because I know the difference. I trust me to know the difference. I don't trust somebody else to interpret whether what I tell them is based in reality or not. It's somebody once told me, time is a flat circle. And I said, well, that's redundant. Circles are two-dimensional objects, so of course they're flat. You don't need to say time is a flat circle. You just say time is a circle. Right? You want time is a flat sphere, that would make sense. Time is a flat circle. It's kind of, you got a wasted word in there. Somebody needs, you need an editor. Sounds good, right? But you're just repeating information over and over again. I had more, you know, I had problems with every partner that I ever was paired up with. Marty and I had issues. I take responsibility for my part in those issues, certainly. Certainly I played a significant part. You two never did hear the whole Maggie story, did you? Yeah. You didn't hear it then, you sure as hell ain't gonna hear it now. Not from me. Call Marty in here. Ask him. But somehow I don't think he'd accept the invitation. We stayed close for a while after that's pretty much all I use to refer to it. I just say after, you know. What do I need to say? After Carcosa. After Bill Childress' son put a hatchet in Marty's chest, gutted me like a fish. See, I think about it, and I feel it. And that is why I don't like to think about it. So, what do I do? What's my magic formula for dealing with the trauma of almost dying? Oh, what? 4, 5 times. therapist would call them, I mean, they're coping mechanisms. They might be considered unhealthy by some, but they don't hurt nobody, and most of all, they don't hurt me. So, I'm at peace with my choices. Y'all don't strike me as people who are necessarily at peace with yours. Yeah, the more I drink it, the better it tastes, so I'm gonna give it that. Not so close with Marty anymore. Was for a while. You can't go through something like that with somebody and not have a level of intimacy and closeness. But the thing about intimacy and closeness, and this is both in my platonic and romantic relationships, is they require effort to sustain. They require compromises. And I was just never ever able to make those compromises. It was a little easier, you know, with Marty. He understood. Marty understood me. Very few people. And maybe, you know, maybe that sounds arrogant. Say nobody understands me. Maybe that sounds juvenile. Hell, probably is. But Marty understood me. But even with that, you know, I was not able to put forth the effort to maintain the closeness that we had for a time after. And as a result, we drifted apart. Marty drinks more than I do. So, to an extent, there was a bit of me wanting to get a little bit of distance between an enabling force and tell stories, relive old adventures, relive old fictions. Well, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to tell you. But I love him. I truly do. But we don't talk much anymore. And like I said, he never really got over the Maggie thing. I know I told you I wasn't going to tell you what that was, but to a couple of smart, young, enterprising detectives, I think you could figure it out if you think about it for a bit. Some people get hung up on stuff like that. I was never that type. I get hung up on a lot of stuff, but I don't get jealous. And not because I haven't had reason to be, you know. It's more just that I think pretty much every time I've ever been in a relationship that's fallen apart, I can pretty much point to the culprit. And that culprit is me. Not from some acute crime. I'm not the type to go out and cheat or lie. But I am the type to lose sight of what's important. Oh, got me the hiccups there. I keep scotching this. I don't really like scotch. But, you know, I like vodka less, and yeah, you can't catch me with rum. You can't catch me ever drinking rum. I'll tell you right now, if either of you ever see me drinking rum, put a bullet in my head. Might as well be drinking suntan lotion. But since we're talking about coping mechanisms, one of the things that I've found that helps comes from my synesthesia. Now, there's lots of different kinds of synesthesia, but one of those kinds is called auditory tactile synesthesia. And although I do get visual hallucinations, I also get auditory tactile synesthesia. Now, the bar where I live, they just recently got an internet connection. And I discovered this phenomenon called ASMR. Now, if you don't know what it is, and I tell you, you're gonna think I'm the craziest MF you ever met. But if it weren't for ASMR, and perhaps my auditory tactile synesthesia, which, as a result, enhances the effect of ASMR on my brain, I don't know how I'd have made through it the last 4 years. It's been tough. When you're a cop, it's not just when you're a cop. you have any job, you have purpose. You know, you aim in a given direction. You have a task to accomplish. And you do it. Now, while you're working on that task, you can zone out. You don't have to think about the things you don't want to think about. You can occupy your mind. That's one of the beauties of it. I expect y'all are just about now thinking, oh, we're wasting our afternoon talking to this psycho. Is he still just as crazy as he ever was? Yes, I am. But I've experienced this phenomenon. It's been a part of my life for these past 4 years, and I think it has untapped potential. Now, for me, the potential was tapped. I tapped the potential, and it helped me, and it helps me every day. The thought has occurred to me that this this phenomenon blurs lines. It blurs lines between relaxation and suggestion and hypnosis and subconscious subliminal messaging. So it's occurred to me that, in the wrong hands, this type of power could be used if Nietzsche were here, he would slap me on the wrist right now, but I'm going to say for evil, for lack of a better term. And that term is loaded and ridiculously dichotomous and simplistic and overly judgmental and makes assumptions that none of us as human beings should be making. But, these elements that are distilled into ASMR, I would be very surprised if parts of these elements were not being used by some of the best charlatans, let's say, for example, revival ministers sort of break down your defenses prior to implanting an idea that furthers their aims. A long time ago I read there was a study and showed that most successful CEOs showed signs of psychopathy. And I could not have been less surprised. Here, I don't drink Budweiser much at all, but it's called the King of Beers, and the little tab has like a little crown in the back. I'm gonna call that clever. Sorry. Doesn't make the beer any better, but I'll tell you, despite the subpar delivery mechanism, it does its job. Anyway, y'all know most police officers have some degree of sociopathy. And I would be surprised if there's some psychopathy lurking behind. Maybe not you. Maybe you. No judgment. I got psychopathy all up in here. It's what I'm trying to tame. It's what I'm trying to tamp down by whatever means necessary. There's another philosopher who said that the concept of mental health that we have is flawed. That in our society, it's basically defined by the extent to which an individual behaves in accord with the needs of the system without showing outward signs of stress. So the more you buy in, the more healthy you are. Who said that? I admit it was the Unabomber again. Now I'm not, as I said, definitely not endorsing anything that man says or does. Well, that's not true. No, the truth is I endorse a fair amount of what that man says. I don't endorse what he does. But it's funny, if you read the Unabomber's manifesto, yeah, it's got some pretty out there ideas, but it's also got some, I guess I'd call them perceptive, catchy, and to the point ideas about the state of capitalism in the United States. Were he by his own admission, healthier individual, he could have channeled that and been the next Noam Chomsky. Instead, he was marginalized by his own paranoia and desire to achieve some kind of notoriety and attention via raining violence down on those who did not deserve it. I can't abide by that. So, pretty sure I have cottoned on over the past 40 minutes or so I've been here. The real reason y'all brought me here. You have experienced and read about my success in the box. I assume you all have a case, a new case. Hell, maybe this time you don't even suspect I did it, which I appreciate muchly. And you would like me to bestow upon you the wisdom my methods in the box. And little did I know, prior to finding out about this internet phenomenon, I was already utilizing something very similar when I would talk to people, gain their confidence. Now, I don't trust any sort of institution, especially the police, to use this sort of power for benevolent ends in every case. And now when I talk about the institution, I'm not condemning any individuals. I'm condemning the gears. I'm condemning the machine. I'll give you an example. What you need to do when you're interrogating somebody is gain their trust. And that's interrogation 101, you all know that. How do you do that? You in a good cop, bad cop it? That's a bunch of bull. Anybody who's ever been in the box before is going to know that. I see that coming a mile off. That's stupid. So how do you achieve a level of trust with people who inherently do not trust you? Well, by simulating intimacy. That's not the kind of intimacy I mean. I saw the way your eyes lit up just then. I'm not, trying to get in these people's pants. And if you are, I hope you get shown the door right quick. You want to get a level of intimacy with these people so that they can trust you. And yes, ASMR is a great way to do that. Because that's what it does. It simulates an intimacy. Let me show you what I mean. When's the last time you had someone whisper in your ear? Let me alter that question. When's the last time you had somebody you didn't know whisper repeatedly in your ear. Yeah, I sure hope not. That'd be right weird. We don't do that. We have a personal boundaries, personal space. We have internal mechanisms that prevent that sort of thing from happening. But when you're in the box, you don't have a choice on those kinds of matters. This is something that is done to you. Now, even if you did not consent, there is a level of intimacy just in speaking to somebody in dulcet, low, whispered tones that bypasses those safeguards in the brain and creates a level of intimacy that maybe, this person did not want or expect or think was ever going to happen. Now you can do this with words. You can do this with sounds. You can say words, quietly. Go behind the perp. They're handcuffed. Just softly say things in their ears. Just words with interesting consonant sounds work very well. For instance, portrait. Invidious. Onanism. You know what I'm talking about there, right? NORAD. Evict. Rickshaw. And you see what I did there? Where did those words come from? What do they mean? Nothing. But you come up to somebody, and especially if you go from one ear to the other, you kind of establish this rapport with them, whether they want it or know it or whatever. And you get through some of their defenses in that way. It's not about the actual words. It's more primal than that. It's about the sounds and what effect the sounds have, devoid of the higher functioning meaning that we've assigned to them when we've incorporated them into language. Just, you don't let random people come up to you and whisper in your ear. You consider this a sort of shortcut. And it works. I gotta tell you, I've been drinking enough beer here. I think I need a quick bathroom break, if that's all right. That's okay. I appreciate it. I'll be right back. Nobody mess with my stuff. still got people here who don't have very good aim. If you don't have good aim in the bathroom, how am I supposed to trust you to have good aim in the field? So yeah, that's what I'm guessing y'all want from me, is how to do this. There are other ways too, you know. There's, like I showed you with my anything but rum bottle here. Sounds will do it. Yeah, remember, you've got a captive audience. I bet you've got stuff just hanging around like you could probably use. Nice box. Oh yeah. What is it? Somebody cleared out their desk. What, you mean there wasn't real money in this? So you hear that? You hear that crinkle? You know, sodium pentothal is illegal now. But there ain't no law against taking someone in the box and crinkling some comic book villain bag of stolen money. And there's and all you're doing when you're doing this, you gotta remember, you're lowering defenses. You want that at bond. You want your suspects to believe that you're looking out for them. I know you're not. You know you're not. And this place hasn't changed. Y'all are railroading. Makes me wonder why I'm helping you. If I can, oh, this is more appropriate, right? I mean, this. You start crinkling a bag of money in front of a perp, and they're gonna wonder why. Or you take a couple of nitrile gloves. They just gonna think you're afraid that they're infected with something, or you don't want to mess with any evidence. The nitrile gloves, they have a unique and soothing sound, all their own. I noticed neither of you got beards, mustaches. That's fine. You could find anything to see. Got some look at that. A brush like this, that's perfect. hard bristles. Now you take that. You don't need the gloves for this, right? But what it does is it amplifies it. You got boxes and boxes of this kind of stuff. Speaking of boxes, you got a box in a box here. It's empty. That's another thing that works really well. Rubbing your nails against something. I don't know what kind of excuse you could find that any suspect's gonna buy. You start doing something like this. God forbid, Captain walks in, sees you doing it. You know, we should be results focused, all of us. If we're talking about being results focused, again, we're just breaking down barriers, and I see it. I see it happening to you. Like right now. You guys haven't been drinking. I can feel the level of comfort and the lowering of defenses. You can also just tap. You might notice that I'm going side to side here. That's an important part of it. Why? I don't know. The only thing I can think of is, you know, similar to why a smaller focal length, which requires you to be closer to the image plane, results in a bigger change per inch in the distortion of the final image. The more of a change you get from ear to ear, generally, the closer a sound is. If the sound's a mile away, you can tell the direction it comes from, but there's no, oh, I heard that more in my right ear or my left ear. You get to this level of closeness, and again, we're talking about intimacy. We're talking about this is something that's happening right next to you. What else you got here? Oh my goodness. old. And nobody wanting this, I'd take it. I'm sure somebody does. Let's see what we get from it. You mind? Okay. Let's lower that shutter speed. You moved a bit there, so you're gonna be blurry. That's what a lower shutter speed means. Come on. You're better than that. Consider this I'm gonna take this roll of film. Consider it a memento. My time. I got a memento. Running from here all the way down. Oh, you got somebody showing off out there. So that's what you can do. You know, you can take anything. I'll put this back for you. Somebody's revving up a piece of crap. What's this? What's this you got? Are we quid pro quoing here, or what? Can I take a look? Oh, look at you. I have to admit, I've actually made a couple of these in the time since the incident. Hasn't kept any devils away that I know of. I just like to think about the trees that these branches were cut from. It's like some gauze, sort of vaguely human-shaped creature in the center of the triangle. Yeah, I remember these. These are in my dreams. They're still in my dreams. Still in my dreams. They're, in their own way, they're beautiful. Now, I hope while I'm talking to you about all this stuff that you're keeping in mind the ethical implications of coercing the confession. Of course, they're manifold. I am still amazed that we live in a day and age where cash bail exists. Literally, if you have money, you don't have to go to jail. If you don't have money, you're stuck in jail. And if you're stuck in jail, you're much more vulnerable to the kinds of methods we're talking about here for, I'm going to stop short of saying coercion, although I just said coercion. Well, let's say, encouraging pleas. It's much easier to do when you got the leverage. You know what to. Think about it. Think about it at the bar where I work. They play football games on the TV. So, I get to hear land of the free, the home of the brave. I hear that phrase a lot. And it resonates with me in a certain way, right? Which is who are the free and who are the brave? Now, there's an argument to be made that the brave are anyone who's not white, women, black men. They have to have courage every day to get in a car, especially, God forbid, you got a broken blinker, you got a light out, you're out on a weekend where they're randomly stopping people in certain counties and districts more than others. It's disgusting. The phrase that comes to mind when I think about a young black man in our justice system is butterfly in a crucible. If someone decides they want to lock you up, you're getting locked up. If someone decides they want to crush you, you are crushed. Very few exceptions. Unless, of course, you can buy your way out of it. People talk all the time about technology creating isolationism. And it does. There's a million factors that create isolationism. They prevent personal interaction, and more specifically, their aim is to prevent assembly. So, you think what you want to think, but do it in your corner. Don't sow the seeds of discontent. And if you do it in your garden. The days of ideas catching on. That's changed. That's changed a lot. Now it's like we used to suffer from not having enough information. Now we suffer from the opposite. We got too much information. You got to parse through it all. How are you going to do that? How are you supposed to function in society? How are you supposed to hold down a job? And then you're expected to be a diligent activist. You're expected to be a curator. We need curated information. At one point in history, and I can't tell you when that date was, but at one point in history, we hit that sweet spot where the information that we were getting was curated just enough that it wasn't as prone to manipulation as it was when it was coming from a single source, and yet there wasn't so much information that it was just a flood, an unparsable flood. It's easy to say, more information is always better, but that's a myth. It needs to be true and relevant information. And it's harder and harder to determine, for the average person, to determine what information is true, what is biased, and what is outright false, what is, in fact, disinformation. We live in frightening times, and I'm talking to you both about this because I want to be sure you all understand the power you wield when you coerce a confession. I certainly hope that the gravity and the importance of what you're doing is not lost on you, and you both, I believe, are good people. Strong moral fiber. Ethical. I believe that. I wouldn't be here. I also believe there's still at least one thing that you're not telling me. I think that y'all brought me in here You know what? I'm not even gonna do that. Y'all will need a bunch of beer can figurines. You need a shadow box to make your point. But I would like to know, what is it specifically that y'all are investigating? What made you call me now? 5 years, 4 years. After the Childerses. Making flowers. Disgusting. What was it? You lied to tell me? I appreciate it. I've been very open with you. What's the case? Who the hell is Monica Jessup?